Are you tired of feeling like you have to be high vibe all the time to manifest or to be spiritual? Well, guess what? You don't have to be high vibe all the time for anything. What if I told you that the secret to getting everything you want and living your best life is leaning into the emotions? Yes, that's right. Emotions are great, and they also carry messages about your life and the things you need to learn or release. All of these messages help you to be aligned with your life path or stay aligned with your life path and manifest with ease, pretty much on autopilot. This is coming from me, an empath, with lots of Pisces placements, so if you know, you know. I am just super sensitive to emotions and energy in general. I definitely feel all the emotions from sadness to doubt to fear to love to joy and everything in between. And I still manifest things and get what I want without bypassing, without faking it, without forcing it. So in this video, I will share with you the 6 steps I use to manage my emotions and energy. Step 1 is to recognize that you can choose. This is because you are not your emotions. You are the consciousness observing your emotions. Imagine you are looking at clouds in the sky for an entire day. There are so many different types of clouds and they keep changing shapes. They change colors depending on the weather. One moment it's super sunny and there's lots of fluffy clouds. Then the clouds change shape and become less fluffy. Then some clouds cover the sun and you are in shadow. The surroundings become a little bit darker, maybe a little bit colder. Then the clouds pass, they uncover the sun and things start looking a little bit brighter and a little bit warmer. Then later in the day, a bunch of dark black clouds start covering the sky and it starts raining for a while. It's dark and cold and wet, but a few hours later, the rain stops. The clouds go away and now there's no clouds in the sky. This is what observing your emotions is like. The emotions are like the clouds in the sky. You see them, you feel them as they change throughout the day. Why would you be so attached to a single cloud when you know that it's going to change shapes or they're going to move away anyway? That is like attaching yourself to one emotion, holding on to it, and making it mean something about your entire life. That brings us to step 2. Become aware of the emotion. Let's continue with the cloud example. So becoming aware of an emotion is like seeing the entire sky and then noticing a specific cloud and focusing on that one cloud for a moment. This is like recognizing that there's a wide range of emotions that you're capable of feeling and becoming aware that at this current moment in time, you feel X, Y, or Z emotion. And it's important to differentiate between awareness and attachment here because it is easy to cross the line. Awareness is simply observing, noticing, focusing on something, but the entity that is being aware, doing the awareness, is something higher, something bigger than that object that is being focused on, if that makes sense. So it's like you are recognizing that you are a human being looking at the sky and just observing one cloud, and then maybe becoming aware that, oh, this cloud looks like a dolphin, this cloud looks like a whale, or this cloud is darker than the others. Maybe it's going to rain. Attachment, on the other hand, goes a little bit further. Attachment happens when there is awareness, but it's hyper-awareness. It's hyperfixation on something to the point of excluding everything else. With attachment, there is a want, a need, an expectation of an outcome. And attachment can go even further into the realm of illusion. Illusion that the observer and the observed are the same. It becomes an identity. For example, the person observing the cloud in the sky forgets or becomes so attached that they forget they are the observer and think they are the cloud itself. This is confusing observation with identity. Going too long with this deep sense of attachment and making it your identity can lead to this thing becoming a subconscious belief. When I went through this process and my overall spiritual awakening and healing, I completely changed my subconscious beliefs to change my life. You can watch my subconscious beliefs video to see how I did it. But back to attachment versus awareness or observation. Instead of attaching to it or identifying with it, you can, however, focus on one thing at a time and see what there there is to observe and learn from it. So with the cloud metaphor, it is like just looking at the clouds and observing the shape, not identifying as a cloud, not needing the cloud to be a certain shape, not needing the cloud to stay in one place, but simply just seeing what is happening. In emotions, it's looking at the emotion and truly feeling it and recognizing where it came from. Not rushing, not running away, not attaching, not identifying. So once you're aware of the emotions, step 3 is to receive the message. Some emotions come and go, like getting stressed, angry, frustrated when you're sitting in traffic. You know that these emotions are the result of a clear and known stimulus, the traffic. And you know that these feelings will go away after a while. It's temporary. However, there are some emotions that keep coming up again and again, no matter how much you try to forget about it or to not focus on it. If it's this kind of emotion, there's a reason that emotion came up in the first place. What is the message this emotion is trying to tell you? And it's very important to receive this message, because if not, it will keep coming up again and again until you get it. So how can you tell what the message is? You have to trace it back to the cause. When did you start feeling this emotion? Was it because of a thought or memory? Was it something that happened in the external world that brought it up? I'll use an example of when I was planning to go to law school. I spent an entire year studying for the LSAT, but every time I thought about studying or applying to law school or becoming a lawyer, I just felt anxious, stressed, and resistant. I thought it was just because maybe it's just a difficult test, or maybe I was pushing myself too hard, or I was just tired and had a bad day, or maybe because I was just unhappy in my relationship at that time, or maybe because I didn't like where I lived, so it just affected my mood. It took me an entire year of studying for the LSAT, taking the LSAT twice, getting into law school with a scholarship, to realize that I didn't want to go to law school, and I didn't actually want to be a lawyer. If I had really listened to my emotions and looked deeper, I would have received the message sooner and not wasted so much time. And actually, I realized later that the only reason I wanted to go to law school was because a lot of people that I went to college with and interned with were planning on going to law school. I thought that was just the natural career path for my major. That's just what society considers as successful for that career path, for that major or field. But I would say this is a pretty surface level example. It can go way, way, way deeper. I just didn't want to, just trauma dump in this video. But this can keep going back as far as it needs to for you to receive the message or to understand what is going on, the real reason behind the emotion. So once you know what the message is and receive it, then you can move to step 4, learn and integrate the message. I'll continue with the law school example. Once I received the message that I was anxious and stressed because I was only doing it because that's what society deemed as successful, I integrated the message, the lesson, by looking a little bit deeper into what I actually enjoy doing and not just what I should be doing because that is just what is socially acceptable. And it seems simple because it is, but in reality, in practice, it can take a lot of time. Or it can be a little bit more, I don't want to call it painful or difficult, but it's simple, but it can be challenging to realize all these things or figure all these things out. For me, it took about a year to really figure out what I want to do with my career. But emotions can also be good. There's the lower emotions like shame, guilt, grief, fear, but there's also the more happy, higher frequency emotions like acceptance, reason, love, joy. So I just gave you one that is a little bit more like fearful. Let me give you another example with like higher emotions, higher frequencies. When I am in the higher frequency emotions like love, joy, peace, I get so many messages from the divine, from spirit, from God, from source, whatever you believe in. But I get these messages in the form of visions, downloads, or just like intense creativity. And when I get those messages, I act on it right away because the energy is so strong and there's just so much clarity. I like jump on it. I take action right away when I get these messages. Before we go further, I want to introduce myself in case we haven't haven't met yet. Hi, I'm Grace. My channel is all about spirituality, energy, consciousness, and how they relate to our everyday life. So if you're interested in any of these topics, make sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel so you can get more videos like this. Now for step 5. We can finally choose the emotion that we prefer. There's nothing holding you back now. Anything is possible. At this stage, you're back to realizing that you are the observer, observing the sky and the clouds, and not being the cloud itself. So now you can see all the clouds in the sky, and there's so many clouds, and you get to choose a different one or many that you want to focus on. This is like recognizing that there are so many emotions to choose from. So which emotion do you prefer? An easy way to change the emotions is to just go up in the frequency of emotions. Different emotions have different frequencies, and they're mapped out in what is called the map of consciousness, created by Sir David Hawkins, who was a renowned psychiatrist, physician, researcher, spiritual teacher. He wrote many books on spirituality and consciousness, and this map of consciousness was featured in his book, Power versus Force, along with many other books. The map of consciousness has so many elements to it, and this is just one part of it, the frequency of emotions. I just want to focus on this particular aspect of it today, and I drew on the board because I was worried of getting like copyright issues. So the more negative emotions have lower frequencies, and the more positive emotions have higher frequencies. So to change your emotion to be happier, you can literally just choose a higher one. And I have another video where I talk a little bit more in depth about the different frequencies and how they can help you manifest things into your life. I'll link that video here or in the description. So to change your emotions, you can literally just choose a higher emotion. And once you know which emotion you would prefer to feel, you can go to step 6, which is to change your emotion. Also, these steps don't need to take a lot of time. From step 5 to 6, it can literally just be a few seconds of decision making. It doesn't always have to be like step by step. So for example, if you are feeling anger, right? Sometimes we get angry at something, and you don't have to flip so drastically and like love that situation or love that person that, wronged you or whatever the case may be. You can literally just stop feeling the anger and try to get to neutral. Neutral is actually a very high frequency, and when I was going through a really hard time in my life, that was my goal. Like, I just wanted to be neutral. Like, I don't even care about anything else. I just wanted to be at homeostasis. So another example, if I am feeling fear and I want to move up to, let's say, courage, what helps me is to remember previous times where I have felt courageous. One example is when I was 27, I was living in Thailand. I was doing a job that I really hated, and I just wanted to change my life. I quit my job and I moved back to America with no backup plan, no job, no money, no savings, and I just believed that things would be better. Like, I just trusted myself, and I just knew that it can only get better from here. What helped me at 27 when I was making this decision is remembering the other times where I quit my job and moved countries, because I've done that a few times in my life. I feel like it helps because you have that experience within yourself. You know how it turns out. You're able to connect the dots and see, like, I made that decision once and it turned out okay. I can do it again. I can make another similar decision and it can turn out okay again. But if I wanted to move from fear up to like neutrality or acceptance, I think about other situations that I felt that way in. And if I want to move up to love, which is a very high frequency, I practice gratitude and presence. Because the thing is, we are naturally love. Our natural state of being is love. But our experiences in the world have added different conditioning, programming, and trauma that drag our frequencies down with all the other experiences that we don't want to repeat. So it can work both ways. Like when you think of a previous experience where you felt courage or you felt neutral and try to have that again, it can also work the same with the lower emotions. So the feeling of shame, the feeling of guilt, the feeling of fear. It's just a matter of realizing remembering that you are the observer. You are not any of these one emotions. You are simply observing this entire spectrum. And then you can decide, okay, what do I want to focus on at this moment in time? If we want to go into the higher emotions, like love plus, I would say one of the easiest things to do to achieve that is to spend time in nature. Nature is so amazing because the trees, the flowers, the sky, the ground, like the earth, it is just so grounding. They don't have an ego, so they're just naturally a higher frequency. And when you're surrounded by all those things that naturally have a higher frequency, your own frequency naturally acclimates to that. Think of it this way. When you are trying to cool down soup, like you have hot soup, some people put ice in the soup to cool it down. And this is like extremely hot temperatures, extremely cold temperatures, and then in the end, the soup kind of reaches an equilibrium between the two. So the ice gets warm and melts, and the soup gets colder. So it's the same when you go out to nature. Like nature is up here, and maybe you're here, or here, or here, or here, whatever, but you naturally will just acclimate to the frequencies in nature. If you can't go out into nature, other ways that I like to raise my frequency is by doing things that I enjoy. Like any hobby, watching like something funny, listening to music, dancing, singing. I'm not good at those things, but I do it at home when no one's watching, and it definitely just makes me feel better. Just joyful things that snap you out of the lower frequency. Let's say when you like dancing and it gives you joy to do something that you are passionate about or something that you enjoy, but you're just feeling anger. It's the same kind of metaphor as the soup and the ice. So your frequency will naturally kind of like rise up to the frequency of when you are dancing, when you're feeling happy, if that makes sense. Another thing I do is just practicing gratitude, and I list out things that I am grateful for or thankful for. Sometimes I write them down, sometimes I literally just think it to myself. I literally will just be like, thank you for this, thank you for that, thank you for the house I live in, thank you for my cats, thank you for my car, thank you to the very basic things like sunshine, thank you for wind, thank you for rain, thank you for this bird that's chirping and it sounds so beautiful, thank you for my soft pillow, thank you for blah 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 blah, and literally just keep going. And then by the end of it, I'm probably like crying because I'm so grateful for my life. And that's it. It sounds simple because it is simple. So there you have it, my 6 steps for managing my emotions as an empath. This 6-step process has helped me to understand which emotions are mine and which emotions are not mine. And it took me some time to learn this and to create like this action plan for myself. But now I go through these 6 steps pretty quickly and almost automatically. So you can definitely do it too, and it can become like second nature to you. I also do other things like energetic protection for my energy, which I'll probably talk about in another video. But if you like this and want to know more about emotions and how emotions can get stuck in the body, watch my video about chakras next.